Why do we not see pets buried in cemeteries? On some of my recent visits to historic estates across Scotland, I've had the pleasant surprise of coming across a number of pet cemeteries. I use the word pleasant very broadly, of course. Perhaps incredibly fascinated is a much better description. Pets have been buried alongside their owners for thousands of years. The mind naturally wanders to ancient Egypt. Most are probably well aware of the mummified cats that have been found in a number of ancient Egyptian tombs. But there's evidence of the burial of pets dating back as far as 14,000 years ago. What could be the earliest definitive evidence of the domestication of dogs is in fact the burial of a dog alongside humans. So why do we tend to not see them buried in cemeteries today? I've also just noticed my lighting is a little different in this video, and it's actually because this is the first proper day of sun I think we've had here up in the northeast of Scotland for a wee while. So it's a joyous occasion. So let's talk about dead pets. Moving on, it's difficult to say why we started to bury the dead. It could have been as a way to dispose of a soon-to-be decomposing, rotting corpse that might attract unwanted visitors, be it scavengers or even predators. It might have been as a way to ensure that disease didn't spread. Whatever the reason that we began to bury the dead, it's very clear that symbolism and ritual became and still is incredibly important aspects of burial. And that's clear in the case of pets. Even in the case of pets, intent is communicated not only in the way that they were buried and the fact they were buried in the first place, but also in the artifacts that were included in the graves, like things that could be recognized as pet toys. As with all forms of memorial, pet burials provide physical locations where we can go and remember and be alongside our former pets.
Faithful friend.
Many people, and perhaps yourself even, consider pets to be members of their family, be it the death of a human family member or a non-human family member. The various funerary processes provide an opportunity to cope with grief, work through loss and get some closure. And it's not only humans that mourn loss. Pets mourn the loss of humans too. The story of Edinburgh's Greyfriars Bobby is notorious. It's about a Skye Terrier that sat by its deceased owner's graveside for 14 years in the latter part of the 1800s. The wee dog died in 1872, aged 16, and it was buried just inside the gates of the Greyfriars Kirkyard, not far from where its owner was also buried. It's certainly a story that seems to resonate with people. Bobby's gravesite and the nearby statues to his memory are something of tourism pilgrimage spots these days. But the local legend is far from the norm. For the most, our pets will die before we do. The most common of pets, cats and dogs, just don't have the same life expectancy that humans do. Many people express that on their own death they would love to be buried alongside their deceased pets. But most cemeteries are not authorized to deal with animal remains, which means the burial of pets in family plots are pretty unlikely. Of course, where there is a will, there is a way. There's even some reports of empathetic funeral directors who are willing to bend and break the rules somewhat. In fact, a whole range of interesting things go into coffins. While those with the disposable income to do so might pay for monuments for their pets, for most, they probably can't justify the expense. Most pets ending up with a temporary or even no memorial of any sort, just a simple send-off, which in reality is the same for a lot of people too. But on occasion, you might get lucky and come across a little pet cemetery somewhere, and they can be pretty fascinating and insightful places. Most likely, some sense of kinship and emotional connection to pets is the reason why we began to bury them in the first place. Perhaps the question that's really worth asking is, when or why did it suddenly become socially unacceptable to bury them as members of family?